States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we come before you with gratitude for the opportunity to serve our community. Thank you for the gift of leadership and the trust placed in each person here. Grant us wisdom to make decisions that are fair, just, and beneficial for all. Help us to listen with open hearts, speak with respect, and act with integrity. May our discussions be guided by truth, compassion, and a shared desire for the common good. Bless our city, its people, and the work we do today. May our efforts bring unity, progress, and hope for a brighter future. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
We're going to move the KLC investment pool presentation. We're going to move that under guests so they can come give their presentation now. If you guys would like to go ahead and have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Is it okay to just stand here?
Wherever you would like to.
I'll quickly start and just give a brief introduction of what the program is from KLC's perspective as what we intended to create and how it should be beneficial for cities. And then I'll turn it over to really the meat of the conversation, Mark Snyder from our investment pool partner, to kind of give you the understanding of what could happen for the city of Falmouth. So to start off, my name is Steve Pekarsky. I'm with the Kentucky League of Cities. My role is Financial Services Manager. Really, I tell every city I go to, my job is to make sure that whatever we talk financial or legalese, I try to put that in simple, plain English for you all so you all can make the best decision for your community members. I'm here to make sure I'm essentially a fulcrum for you to apply, to have the most leverage as possible to ensure that you have the ample opportunities and tools necessary to do its best. KLC in 2019 approached the state legislature to say, our cities need additional revenue streams without the word taxation. That's when we had the first substantial revision to KRS 66480 since 1995. That revision was the inclusion of equity securities and individual high quality corporate bonds because the prior exposure to treasuries and CDs was no longer generating enough volume and activity to be worth the level of activity. We said, let's figure a way that we as KLC can utilize our economies of scale, create a pool program, and approach these to all of our cities and say, whether you are talking millions, tens of thousands, or tens of dollars, you should have the same range of opportunities and exposure. So I handed out before the meeting 2 handouts. I'm gonna quickly point your attention to the single page handout. This will be the only time in a sales pitch that you'll ever hear the word no said more often than this. On the very bottom, you're going to see the word that says there's no minimum, there's no transaction fees, and there is no limitation as to the complexity that you can create within this system. This goes back to that point of this is your program. It's just KLC acting as the vehicle for which you all to implement this. We look at the investment pool as a way to ensure that your monies are working as hard as you do as council members, as mayor, and as city staff. Every single one of your dollars should have a job and should have a duty and should be working 24/7. If they sit idle in the general fund and wait till that inevitable rainy day, you're losing out day in and day out to our silent friend called inflation. It was really pronounced in 2020 when we saw inflation near 9%. My other role is talking about placing bond debt. People were concerned about 4% rates of long-term debt. Talking about a 9% inflation cost made all those construction projects become just eye-wateringly expensive. And I'm sure you all are well aware of that with various needs. Nothing in city government life has become cheaper and everything has become more expensive. So now it's saying, okay, if you do have idle money, let's figure out a way to implement it that does not expose yourself to undue risk. It gives you a level of confidence to know the investments that you would be placed in are simple and understandable enough that you, if you were stopped at the grocery by any one of your constituents, you can explain what you're invested in. This is not going to take a PhD level of education to understand the investment vehicles. If you look, if eyes go up just one page up on this, or one section up on this chart, you'll see just a nice infographic that says we have 6 funds. Those are the only 6 funds within our investment pool program. you're not going to have paralysis by analysis when it comes to the investment pool program. If you say, hey, I want a checking account on steroids, that's what we would call the money market fund. You're going to be more susceptible to what the federal market committee does. When they say we're lowering the federal funds target rate, every notch down that they go, your return will in lockstep go down. This is going to be subject to that undulation. So when it went up like a hockey stick, everybody loved the money market fund. I mean, having a checking account that was earning almost 5%, those were great days. But we're still talking north of 3%. And if you've got idle money that you say, okay, I don't really want to dabble heavy into the equity market, but I want to make sure that when I go to sleep at night, it's working and going, the money market fund will be there. And if you say, okay, well, we want to be able to increase our exposure, we want to have something that's similar to what we would call a certificate of deposit, but we don't want to lock our money for 12, 18, 24 months, whatever that timetable may be. KLC created the Enhanced Income Fund, which is say we're going to proxy what the CDs were doing, but without limitation of if you break glass, you forego the investment earnings. This is I always quote this every time. I'm sure Mark's tired of hearing it. It's the J.G. Wentworth infomercial. It's your money. If you need it now, call KLC and we'll make sure that's available for you. And then we get into the long term. If you say, hey, we do not have immediate capital needs for these monies, we want to make sure that the next generation of council that comes in looks back and says, in 2026, the council made this decision that all of a sudden it snowballed into this great opportunity. That's when we talk about the long-term investment funds. That long-term investment vehicle is going to have ups and downs. We're never going to specify a guaranteed rate of return. We're going to specify that you're going to get the market activity, the full breadth of it, the ups, the downs, and everything in between. It's akin to taking a yo-yo and walking up a mountain. That yo-yo is going to go up and down, but so long as we're continuing up to the summit on a long-term horizon, we have a greater opportunity for positive results. But if we say we need a guaranteed 10% within 1 year, that's nothing that we within KLC or PNC is going to say, this is the opportunity within here. That gets into the Bernie Madoff level arena. Within how we would go from this conversation tonight to the city taking some sort of declarative action and making a decision, KLC will provide you all of the necessary resolution. We do everything via an Interlocal Cooperation Agreement Act. So the city would join, which allows us as KLC and PNC to act on your behalf. We are not making investment decisions without your input. We are only the vehicle for which you are accessing the market. So you still have to tell us what you want, when you want it, and how you want it done, and we will operate for you. That resolution, we'll get that to Steve in plenty of advance, make sure he can review that so he feels comfort to it. Then we would designate authorized officials. Those two individuals, or however many you want to authorize, would be the only individuals that we can take investment directive from. We would set up an account within the PNC ecosystem, so your city clerk will have immediate access to online monthly reports, so you can have full transparency to see exactly what your money has done and is doing, and be able to see that as clear as day. And then if you should ever need disbursements, you would coordinate that with either myself or Mark, and within no more than 2 business days, we could settle that transaction and have money back into your all's operating account. So I can't stress this enough. There's no cost, there's flexibility, and there's immediacy when it comes to liquidity. This really KLC's operation is to say, we want to make sure that we are giving you a tool. It's at your discretion of how you want to use it. If you want to use it for the full scope, you can absolutely do that. If you want to be laser focused on one individual goal, we can block out all the noise and say, what's your goal? Here is a prescriptive approach to achieve that goal without undue risk. Before I get sucked into my typical sandbox, I love this stuff. I can talk about it for a long time. I'm going to turn it over to Mark Snyder, our investment advisor, so he can go through this actual presentation that gives you the visual roadmap of what these actions what can happen for the city, and the positive results that may come from that.
Thank you, Stephen. Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here with you. We'll be reviewing this document that Stephen handed out just very briefly. And really just wanted to make a few key points that Stephen highlighted. This is a program that really would provide the city of Falmouth flexibility and efficiency in it being able to diversify any reserve assets that you have in a holistic view, and that complements what you're doing at your local bank and that type of thing. And so that's how this program is designed to really complement your existing investment arrangement. It just gives you more options and flexibility if you need it. On the first page is a highlight of kind of where things stand at the end of January for the entire program. You can see that we have, what it says there, 182 accounts. We've got about 54 cities across the state that belong or invested in the pool, and some cities have established more than one account. So you can have 6 or 7 accounts or one account, really based on your needs. So of those 50-some cities, they've opened up 182 accounts within our program. You would have online access to the account that you established, so you can see what that is. And then we're up, in 2019, the program started with 0. And we're now over $77 million in the total program. And so we have consistent growth, and you can see the chart at the bottom is the monthly unit value. So these funds are open daily, and each pool is unitized, so there's a share price. And you can see the growth with the gray and the yellow bars, those are the equity allocations where you see the growth and also the volatility. And then the fixed income and the enhanced income fund towards the bottom. The green line is the enhanced income fund. And that was opened in 2023 after we went around the state and had conversations with cities just like you, what they're looking for. And those were cities who simply laddered CDs. And so the enhanced income fund was designed to protect your principal, and provide daily liquidity, and provide a higher yield than a money market fund, and a higher yield than CDs. And so we designed it so it is a stable value. That green line is slightly increasing because we buy and hold to maturity, and so you don't see any fluctuation there in regards to that. So, and then over on the next page, page 3, you see the total return for each pool. There's a lot of numbers there, so we won't go through those. But the money market fund and the enhanced income fund are more of the savings-like funds. And then the other 4 pools are more of the growth, longer-term oriented funds. And you can see down at the bottom, and as you know, the equity markets have been very strong returns over the last 3 years, several years in regards to that. So you can see since inception that, the S&P equity fund has average annual returns of over 15%. But that's not, sometimes it's not appropriate for some. You can pick any fund and manage the risk that you want in that regard. And then the yields at the bottom. So Stephen mentioned the money market yield is 3.34% currently on an average basis. So how might you use the fund? So on page 4 is a sample. As I'm understanding, you may be considering establishing like an emergency reserve fund. So if you think hypothetically, take that, say $550,000 as a rough amount, and invest that 100% in the enhanced income fund. That's going to protect the principal, provide you a higher yield and daily liquidity. You take those, and so we would anticipate that would earn approximately around $25,000 a year, based on the current yields and where things are in the markets. So a number of cities have done the same thing. So you have your $550 there, and it's available as needed if something comes up. It's your reserve money. But you take your earnings from that, and you put it in. You can either keep it on an account or move it to a separate account. So and then you have a different asset allocation, and you can invest it however you like. And in this sample, I'm still very conservative in saying take that monthly earnings, move it into a different account, invest it 80% in the enhanced income fund, which is still getting you that 4.5% kind of yield and protecting that principal, and then 20% in the 2 equity funds to provide long-term growth. So your rationale there and the objective would be to provide principal protection and modest growth. And really then the goal is building a pool of capital so that you could have for projects down the road or if something came up. And so we ran some projections over on page 5 and 6 of what that may look like, taking approximately $25,000 a year, investing in that type of way. You could build up to median range of about 340,000 over 10-year kind of time period, and still have availability to those funds. And then on the last page, the range of returns, being a very conservative portfolio, on a 1-year basis, in a Monte Carlo simulation, you can go from down 1.3% to up 11%. But if the longer time period, you see 3 to 5 year period, you don't see negative numbers in it because it's still the way it's very conservatively managed. And this is just a sample. We can customize a portfolio and an asset allocation structure specifically for your objectives. So this was just kind of something that we've worked with and discussed with a number of cities, but it's really however you want to structure it. The goal is to earn incremental income on cash balances that you may not be earning much on currently in a local bank or what have you. Any questions or anything that can help you out with it?
Don't have questions on my end.
Is this something you guys wanna go ahead and move forward with? I mean, the balances are just sitting in the bank accounts. They've been sitting there for a couple of years now. They're not growing very well, just sitting in our bank account. We're not spending it because it is kind of our savings. It's not like we're gonna be allocating that money into anything. So,
So the money market fund, you can pull it out anytime you need it?
And any of the funds you can pull out anytime. The money market fund the unit value is $1, so it's just like a savings account. So it's earned, the annual yield is 3.34% as of today. So a number of cities can use that fund. So if you have money sitting in a bank account and it's earning next to nothing, to me it's like a no-brainer to use a government money market fund and at least earn some incremental income. That income then can be reinvested in the money market fund. It can be plowed back to your operating, what have you. The enhanced income fund is just the next level up, and it's still very stable as we've shown, and it gets a higher yield than that. So if you don't plan this, like sometimes it's okay, we might need some money in 3-4 months, use the money market fund. Anything kind of over 3-4 months, use the stable value fund or enhanced income fund, and get that incremental, or both, however you want to do it. But you have daily liquidity for all of the funds. We would only transfer money back to your operating accounts and go back and forth. There's no fee to move money back and forth. There's no fee to open an account. There's no minimum. So if you have, we've had cities that had, a $10,000 CD that matured, or $50,000, whatever, and they rolled it in. I mean, it really is what works best for you. This is just an option or a tool that allows the city to really be prudent in how you manage your assets and think through ways that where can we be 3-5 years down the road if we just set aside a little bit, or if we have our reserve money, how can we make it work for us? That's all it is, just to give you options that complement what you're currently doing.
Paul, do you have anything you wanna add in? Or?
Yeah, I don't think there's much downside to the city at all. Right now, we've got a lot of money sitting in checking accounts that are getting no interest or very little interest. If we move some of that to either the money market or the enhanced income fund, it's going to generate the city 3% or a little higher.
Yeah.
We can always get the money back if we need it. It's just sitting in a checking account now. We might as well have it sit in the money market or enhanced income fund and earn us more interest, is my opinion. And I've seen some of the other cities I work with do what he was saying. They put their original amount in, as that earns interest income. They take that interest income and move it to a second account and invest it a little more aggressively. That way, they never lose their money they started with. If something went down, it would only be some of your earnings that went back down the other way. But what he was saying was you would take 80% of your earnings and keep those safe, and only put 20% of the earnings into a higher yield and more risk product. But I don't see much downside for the city to do this at all.
And Paul he looked at the numbers already, and he'd kind of come back with it was 500,000 kind of altogether is what he felt comfortable with us maybe investing in, and I can't remember for sure if it was 3 from the general and 2 from utility, if it was the other way around.
I think it was more from utility, but
Okay.
both of them are pretty similar. We could take 250 out of each fund. Now we'll still internally earmark that money for electric reserve and for, water reserve. But instead of sitting in a checking account, it's sitting over here in a money market fund.
And that's really the only difference. It's right now it's just sitting in these reserves account anyways that they're not allocated, they're not budgeted to anything. It's just sitting there. So we're just essentially moving where it's sitting at. It's still just going to be sitting. It's still going to show up on our balances that it's our money, but it's just not going to be sitting at our local bank. It's going to be growing in an investment pool.
Right. And you could open up 2 accounts, one for utility, one for, whatever works best for your accounting. You'd have online access to both of those accounts, and really just gives you options as you move forward.
You guys want to move forward with this?
I think it's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, it's gonna earn a little interest. I mean,
And so what do we need? We would need a resolution of some sort, I guess,
Yeah.
at another meeting.
Yeah, we're gonna do another meeting. We'll get you a resolution, and then the subsequent actions for you all as a legislative body would be approval of that, the execution of a local agreement, so you'd have to sign, the city clerk would have to sign, we have to have that notarized, and then we would get into the conversations on the structure and setup of that nature, but that can be outside of the council, or that can be held at council chambers, but only council would have to approve that resolution. That would be a single step.
Okay. Alright. Well then, we will Steve will look forward to getting that resolution from you then. You guys have any other questions before they go? And their contact information, I think is, their contact information's on the bottom of the flyer. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
You guys have a nice night. Okay, now we're gonna go on to the accepting the minutes from the meeting from the February 5th meeting.
I make a motion to accept meeting minutes from February 5th.
I'll second.
Everybody in favor?
Yes.
Now we're gonna go to the handbook. I sent I guess, are we on the 4th draft now? To you guys that, they made a couple changes. There was something else I still needed to know. Hold on. Some of it was just some of my questions were more or less clarification on some of the policy things. And then making sure, because there was some verbiage in some parts, they were talking about bi-weekly pay periods, but were paid weekly, so they went in and cleaned those up in a few places that it mentioned like bi-weekly. I think in the commuter rule thing, it talked about like 10 days, so that's all changed now to reflect we're a weekly paid. The PTO. So we took, before they had their holidays, and then they had 2 PTO days that were kind of in the holidays, and we added 2 holidays, and then we took the PTO out of the holiday time, but he had added in, so they're still keeping the PTO days, but they'd added it in on another section. So I just wanted to make sure you guys were fine with, so that their sick time, their vacation time, the holidays, and then they will still have their 2 PTO days that they can take for whatever reason. So I just wanted to clarify because that we're keeping that in. Okay. That might have been the only thing. I think that was the only one he needed an answer on. Oh, and then a pay class ordinance. We do not have a pay class ordinance. I think a couple years ago we passed, like, they added on to the handbook like a pay scale. We actually need a pay class ordinance, and he sent over, I forwarded that to you guys too, he sent over some examples, so that's something that we need to look at, the next meeting to decide. So if you guys wanna start looking at that and looking at what other cities are doing and getting, I know he gave us Erlanger actually as one as an example to use. So you guys must have been doing a good job up there. So that's something else that we need to get added in. And then I think that's it. All the other forms are done in the handbook. He said that he'll number those. I think that was the only thing that we needed to do.
Is there anything that came back from the departments looking at it?
I've asked.
No.
Did you have anything? Right? Nobody said they had anything. Did you guys have anything, Marty?
No, I guess the only thing that kind of jumped out at us was the year probation after completing the academy. That could, depending on how the academy works, that could end up being like a 2-year probation for somebody. Generally, what we've done in the past, and I'm not even sure this followed the city's policy book, but they were on probation when they're hired, and they're on probation through the academy, and then they have a 12-week field training, and once they completed the field training, then we were releasing them from probation. So it ends up being more like a 1.5 years than it would be 2 years. That was about the end. I mean, that could go either way. That would really be up to you all and how long. I know when you're talking with, trying to draw in new recruits, that long of a probation might discourage some people, but I don't see it being.
I'll ask him, because that wasn't like a thing that we specifically asked for. So that was part of the things that they added, like they took, a lot of it was their standard. And so, so a lot of the things that were added in were not things that we were able to be flexible on. So I'll email him and ask him why that it's, because your guys is completely separate than the other employees. Like he had a whole separate part for the probationary things for the officers.
That may come a lot of the bigger departments, they won't start them until they start the academy. So that would kind of make sense. The probation will be after the academy. But with the smaller departments, sometimes we have to start them and work them because it could take up to 1 year to get them into the academy. Now, the academy's trying to fix that problem, and they are making progress because they've built another.
Well, I was going to say they've got another academy open because they said, I was on this mayor's board meeting like last Friday, and they were talking about that. Yeah.
So it all may be moved down the road anyway.
Okay, so you want to know about the police probationary period?
I mean, if they wanted a recommendation, my recommendation would be they would be released from probation after successful completion of the FTO program. That's the field training after the academy.
And that's, most big departments do that. It's a year from the time you're sworn in or a year from the time you're hired. That's when your probationary period starts, and then it's a year from that point, not a year from the academy.
Yeah, okay, no, I'll email, because that wasn't something that was a specific conversation that we had. That was something that was part of the added in of the things that we went over. And so I'll ask him though why it is that way, and that you would suggest or would like to go to the 12 weeks
Yeah,
after the FT,
it's called an FTO program.
okay, FTO program.
Well, and the only other reason they brought that up, if I can speak to you, was the 15520 and their police officer bill of rights, and those, when they kick in, how they should kick in. A lot of times, if it doesn't kick in until a year after they graduate the academy, they're going to be working on the road with certain protections that we have that they're not going to have at that point.
See,
So
so
that's
hold on,
kind of
because I touched base somewhat on this some question here, so I have an answer, because I had asked them a different question, but it was regarding involuntary termination. Because like in theirs, it says the apply officer, if they're being terminated, I was asking what was the difference, because in the policy, it talks about for the, basically if you're gonna involuntary separate a police officer, that you had to follow the Bill of Rights, but then I was asking about policy violence, so he said though that it applies once the officer is out of their 12-month probationary period. So he mentioned that in there again, and I don't know if that's just because what he put in the policy, so let me ask.
What he was probably talking about is the police officer's Bill of Rights, the way it was explained to me, primarily involves potential criminal charges, things of that nature. Actual internal policies, it's administrative, do not necessarily fall under the police officer.
That's what he
Bill
was
of
saying.
Rights.
He said that basically that the Bill of Rights is reserved for a citizen complaint about conduct, or if it's something to do with like your essential job. Basically, if the police officer is disciplined for general employment conduct, then that's outside of 15.520.
That's basically the
Yeah.
breakdown. If it's an
Yeah.
internal thing, it doesn't necessarily apply. Well, that's the way we've always kind of looked at it.
Yeah, no, that's what he's explaining. So it all goes back to that 15 point is that Bill of Rights, but you're asking that the 12-month probationary period be reduced down to 12 weeks after they complete the FTO program.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, I'll email them and find out. Is there any other questions? Because I'm hoping by the next meeting we can vote on, we'll have a final thing, so if there's anything else. We changed the hours of operation. We've added in a lunch from 12:30 to 1 because they are supposed to take at least a minimum of the 30-minute lunch, and unfortunately kind of what happens is the phone rings, people walk in, whatever, so I want to ensure that they're at least getting their 30-minute lunch like they're supposed to be, and so they're supposed to turn the phones onto do not disturb, so it goes over the voicemail and lock the doors, so they're actually taking at least the 30-minute lunch. And then there is going to be training that they have to do for the drug and alcohol. That was the other question I'd added. That since we're doing the random drug and alcohol testing now, and then there's also the training that they're going to have to do. And he sent me the link to where we can do this training. But those are more internal things that they're gonna. A lot of it's just going to be in-house things that are going to change. Okay. So we'll ask them those questions and hopefully have a final draft for the next meeting, and you guys can. And then also have some type of draft of what our ordinance might look like for the pay classification. Yeah. Moving right along. So we've got some requests for donations. I just figured I would have them. I know one of them is from the health department, and it's for Megan. Did you copy all these? Yes, yes. You guys should all have copies of the request. So the health department is asking. You want to talk about it, or you want me to?
So we have a match grant. It's a 50-50 grant that the maternal child health is going to give us to buy cribs for kids. So it'd be the
Pack and place.
And we will also provide them with a sleep sack, pacifier, and a book that will come with that. The stipulation is for every $100 that crib is worth, but they will match that $100. So we're getting out in the community to ask that donation is going to be. The money will stay in the community. There's no income base, so anyone that needs one, so if it's grandparents watching a child and they don't have someplace safe, they can come in and get one. So it will stay in the county.
also got the request for donations from Project Grad and the Pendleton County Youth Fair.
What did we do to the fair last year? Do you remember?
I wanna say, was it the 500? 500 something. Was it 500 for that or 500? I think it was, yeah. I'm pretty sure it was 500. For whatever reason, the numbers jumping out of me.
Sounds about right.
And I know we used to pick the trash up for free, but I don't think we'll be doing that service this year, so. I said we used to pick the trash up for free. I said I don't think we'll be providing that service, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't feel like the city's in a really good spot right now, like, vicinity, so it's a little hesitant myself,
I'm just putting it on the agenda.
yeah.
Just table it for now.
You said we can take it,
Okay, you guys wanna table the request?
yeah.
Now we're gonna go on to this discussion on taxes. And I'm gonna move over here so I can try and play this thing on my laptop for everyone else to see what we're gonna look at. Yeah, yeah.
Just tell me when.
And you can sit down and relax.
Yeah.
I know, it's kinda dark now. Okay, so occupational taxes is what we're gonna be talking about. Move on to the next one. So, why does it, occupational taxes are used to fund your police, fire, streets, and general services. It'll ensure businesses benefiting from city infrastructure contribute fairly. It'll capture revenue from commuters and non-resident businesses, not just homeowners. It'll stabilize the city's finances without relying solely on property taxes. These taxes are common across Kentucky and are locally controlled. On to the next one. So taxes currently being collected, okay, we're collecting the property tax, we've got the ad valorem taxes on the motor vehicles. We already have the bank franchise and local deposit tax that we are collecting, and the insurance licensing fees on the 10% of premiums. There's limited ways that a city can generate and go after taxes. So the three options that we basically have are payroll tax, occupational licensing tax on net profits, and the licensing tax on the gross receipts. And so we're gonna go over all three of the different ones. For your payroll tax, it's an employee withholding tax, so the employees are the ones paying this. A percentage is withheld from the employee's wages, paid by the employer, deducted from paychecks, applies to anyone working inside the city limits regardless of where they live. The pros of that, it's stable, predictive revenue, captures income from commuters, simple to administer through payroll systems. The cons, employees feel it directly on their paychecks, and it requires employer compliance and reporting. So David Fields was nice enough to let us know. So the county is already collecting a payroll tax at 1% in the city. They have no restrictions or no exemptions and no minimum income. So that is everybody working in the city. They're doing a 1% payroll tax, and they're collecting $182,000 and 360. That's what they're collecting just on. But they, I guess, off of our list of the occupational licenses that we have, they kind of went through their records and came up with just on the city, like that's what they were collecting. So that kind of gives us an idea of what we would collect at 1%. Or we can use that number and then of course play with the percentage, and we'd have an idea more or less what the revenue would be in payroll. So there is, in payroll, there are some exemptions, or like you can set the minimum income threshold, which is common. Some do like $12,000 to $25,000 is, people making less than that are exempt, or they also are doing like the first 12 or to 20,000, whatever number you want to say, 15 would be, if everyone's, I guess, money would then be exempt. You could do it that way, which I think that would really cut us down on the revenue. But we could also exempt our city employees, which I did ask David, the county does not provide any exemptions, they're not even exempting their own county employees. And I don't know if the county will, now that we're gonna go after payroll tax, if they can give a credit basically for city resident, or city, people paying the city payroll tax, they wouldn't pay the full county tax or whatever, but I don't know if they would do that. So they are at 1%. And it's very common that cities exempt their employees from the payroll tax. We could exempt county workers, state workers, you could exempt school employees, but that's really gonna cut out pretty much everybody won't be anybody to tax. Exactly, unfortunately, but I do, I think you guys should consider at least exempting our city employees from the payroll tax. But then if you move on to the occupational net, so there's two, the net profits is the first one we're gonna talk about. And this one is more for your professionals and small businesses. I have no idea what the possible revenue would be if we went after the net profits or the gross receipts. But this one, it's a tax applied to the business's net profits based on the federal tax return figures. Businesses with no profit owe no tax. It's best suited for your professional services, sole proprietors, consultants, small retail businesses with predictable margins. There are exemptions that some people, they allow churches and religious organizations to be exempt. They sometimes will exempt nonprofits, government entities, schools, public utilities sometimes, businesses under a minimum revenue threshold, often 25K to 75K, businesses with net losses pay nothing. And you don't have to exempt everybody. These are just some exemptions of that they have. If we wanted to look at exempting anybody. The pros and cons of the net profits, it's viewed as affairs by businesses, supposedly. Accounts for expenses and downturns, easier for small operations during slow years. The cons is the revenue fluctuates year to year. It requires auditing and verification, and businesses can legally reduce taxable income. So it's not as easy I don't think it's as easy for the city to have a lot of oversight or to make sure that they're complying. I think it might be a lot more work, I guess, more on our end than going after the other business tax too. But these businesses typically have high overhead, variable income driven by expertise, not volume. And then your common net profit businesses are your professional services, attorneys and law firms, accountants, CPAs, and just lists basically different. That's your common ones that fall into the net profit businesses. Then if you go on, you have your gross receipts. So this tax is applied to a total business's revenue before expenses, owed even if the business is not profitable. These businesses typically have high transaction volume, predictable sales, thin margins, but steady cash flow, sales that are easy to verify. The pros on this one would be it's very reliable revenue, it's harder to manipulate or underreport, predictable for budgeting. The cons is can burden businesses with thin margins, paid even during unprofitable years. And this kind of outlined your kind of the stores you'd be going after if we did the gross receipts on businesses. It's your grocery stores, gas stations, liquors, your food, your beverages. So that we get your dollar stores, that'll get you the McDonald's, the Taco Bell, the ones that we kind of started out talking about initially. And the next slideshow talks about why gross receipts work for these. The sales are easy to track, revenue doesn't disappear through accounting, cities get predictable income, and lower tax rate offsets expense burden. And then how you would separate the two businesses. So businesses engaged primarily in retail, sales, food service, construction, contracting, wholesaling, utilities, or other high volume commercial activities shall be subject to the occupational on the gross receipts. And then the other one, your businesses, professional services, personnel, medical, finance, is your net profits. Then we're still going to, so we have the fee versus the taxes. So we've kind of gone over the taxes. The fee is permission, so we already have that. We have a $50 minimum fee, people come in, and that's basically us giving them permission to do business here in the city. The taxes is what we're going to start taxing on them doing the business. We're going to tax that. So right now we currently have a flat 50-yearly fee. It's supposed to help cover the administrative costs and business registration. Who pays? Everyone. In some cities, they will take, because you're still going to, if we do the taxes, we're still going to have the fee. Some of them will take your fee and offset that on your tax amount that they're paying. I mean, I think we're better off probably just keeping the two, because essentially if you've got businesses that aren't making any money, some of these smaller professional business type things, they're just going to pay the fee because they're not going to pay any tax if they're not making the money. But the last page goes over more of a structured, instead of if we were to not do the $50 flat yearly fee, we could do a more structured, if you want to go to the last page, there's a different breakdown where you can kind of, where we're increasing the fee some, or we could. So basically, I'm just trying to give you guys the information on the different ways we can go about collecting the fees and the taxes and what the options are for the taxes. Can you turn those lights back on for me back there?
Shut this down.
Yeah, you're done. You're done with that. And then if you look in your packet of stuff, there's a list. It says city occupational license tax rates. It's from 2023, but KLC has this list basically of every city in Kentucky, and it tells you what their population is. If they're doing a payroll tax, how much payroll tax they're taking. If they're doing a net profits tax, what tax percentage they're taking there, or if they're doing the gross receipts and what that percentage there. So it kind of gives you an idea of what everybody else around us is doing. So pretty much everyone in the state.
It is interesting. There's not like, it doesn't seem like there's much of a correlation as to
population percentage. Like there's some that only have 1,300, 2%, and then there are others that have 2,500 or more, and it's 0.5%.
I mean, I think most cities, this is a way that they're going after revenue. We don't have a very big business base.
Mhm.
So I can see where, especially in other cities, of course, they go after all the taxes because they have all these businesses and that generates them a lot of tax revenue. But at the end of the day, the counties are already collecting, I mean, they're collecting money for people working in the city. That's really no benefit, like the city's not getting much benefit from that. Like it's not, this would help fund our police department, our roads, and our general fund.
Take some work on
Yeah.
Alright? How many business you
We're
got?
gonna have public comment at the end, if you guys wanna wait and share your public comment then.
Property tax.
But a couple months ago, kind of when we were discussing the general fund, this was one of the things you guys wanted to explore was finding a way to grow the general fund. And so, and this is it, like we're halfway through the fiscal year. We knew when we started the fiscal year that we could not sustain things the way that they were long term. And you guys, and so this was, the suggestion was to build up the revenue in the general fund. There's very limited ways, and this is pretty much the only other way. We are going after every other tax that looks like that we can go after. And I mean, the thing about this, the nice hope would be would maybe we could, some places, if they start going after payroll tax, they look at reducing the property tax. Because now you have another revenue source. I don't know how many people work in the city and actually live here. There's probably gonna be quite a few just because, but we have a lot of commuters that leave here too to go to work. I don't think there's a lot of people that travel to Falmouth to work, unfortunately. So that's another downfall to how much potential revenue there is there, but these are the options, so.
I think it's a big decision, and I mean, before we jump head first into something, I mean, there has to be some sort of study that would at least show us, you know, what kind of revenue it would be and if it would be worth that revenue.
Well, we know what the payroll revenue would be because the county's told us what
Sure.
the payroll revenue is.
You should put a little bit more, a little bit less. It's around that part anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it was a ballpark, I mean, probably not down to the dollar, but like we have a general idea of what they're collecting from the city businesses.
That ain't enough.
Mr. Merlin was giving some ideas how to,
And this was
like, revenue.
it, this was
Yeah.
the big part of it, and we're already doing the bank tax, so I mean, that was the other thing. But if you guys don't if you guys don't wanna go this route, then we're gonna have to go back to talking about cutting department budgets. Those are the options.
Well, other small cities did in the county that they're in too. When I worked in Dry Ridge at school, I paid it paid the Dry Ridge tax in the Grant County. And when I was in Florence, I think I paid three local taxes.
I just filed my son's taxes for him, and he paid Alexandria and Campbell County taxes working up in Alexandria.
I know when they instituted the insurance premium tax, everybody was up in arms about that. That's brought a lot of money into the
Yeah,
city.
I mean, we're losing property taxes pretty much every year when we lose a house that,
How you doing that?
well, I don't think we're building a lot of houses or developing a lot of properties here in the city. I don't think that we've got new subdivisions going in, so every time you have a house that becomes dilapidated and abandoned and no one's paying property taxes on, we don't have the growth that's supporting what we're losing every year. We're
Properties have
losing.
gone up quite a bit down here though, quite a bit. They have. I know that for a fact.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying when you're talking about growth that other places are seeing and how we have no, I mean, there's no subdivisions, there's no apartment complexes, there's no real growth going on here that is, we lost what, 70 some houses in the flood, they've never brought back in 70 property tax, like, they've never replaced that any other way.
People still paying property tax. I got plenty of it. I paid up. How many houses we paid?
Oh, plenty of taxes
We got
down
five.
here, plenty. And now they want more money from us.
And I don't know why you wanna take 2% out of your payroll tax. I don't know how much tax you pay, we pay plenty of tax. I mean, I work for most, I pay tax there, I pay tax everywhere. And then you wanna add 2 more taxes, 2% more on the payroll?
I don't wanna do anything, I'm just trying to make the
What's it,
budget
what
work
is
on
it
what
about
the.
is spending? You spend too much damn money here.
Okay,
That's
so
the
we'll get
problem.
back to the public
just telling you.
comments back at
You
the
spend
end.
much money.
We'll get back to the public comments at the end.
That's the
So
problem.
I mean, if, I don't
Just
know
spend
as
money.
far as like a study, I don't know who would even go about doing a study like that, I don't know how much more they would be able to tell us than, I mean, what we have in front of us, but I mean, that's the reality. If we've known that, we've known the issues with the budget and how we got to where we are. But if you guys want to keep the department budgets where they're at, and in addition, we have to find a way to fund some of the public works. Every other city funds public works somewhere through their general fund too. It is not the utilities expenses to pay for the entire general maintenance for the entire city. It's killing our utilities.
Yeah, I'd like to say something too, after you're done.
Like Steve said, when I worked in Cincinnati, I paid the state of Kentucky tax. I had to work out of Cincinnati, I had to go to Florence. I had to pay the city of Florence tax. Even though I worked at the same company, I had to pay the Boone County tax. When I had to leave Cincinnati to go to Sharonville, I had to pay the city of Cincinnati tax, never got it back. I paid Sharonville city tax when I was, then I had to go to Middletown for the railroad. I had to pay the city of Middletown tax. During that time, I still had to pay the city of Cincinnati. No matter where I went to, I got taxed. And I agree. I mean, you make money. The money's there. My daughter worked at the Arc for AIG. She paid the county tax for city of Grant County and the city of Williamstown for payroll tax, and they ranked in the money.
And I mean, the thing about it is that we're trying to spread, I mean, the city needs revenue. It needs revenue to function. Everything's gone up. Our revenue streams are not keeping up with the cost of inflation at all. We're looking at investing some money to try and, but that's not gonna be a huge thing. That's more or less trying to save our savings and let our savings do some work for us instead of just sit there and collect nothing. But
Can I just ask something though?
this spreads out the cost. It doesn't go back, we're not just going after property owners. Like, this is spreading the tax costs that we're taxing the commuters that are coming here to work. And now granted, there's gonna be some people that are kind of caught in the middle of that, but at the end of the day though, we're trying to spread the tax across other people and not just say, hey, we're gonna increase the property taxes now because we need to support this thing, the funds, but.
Wasn't it like 2 years ago, you guys impeached my son, there was a 1.2.
Okay, so
deficit,
this is the
though?
last time I'm
Well,
gonna
I
ask
heard
you to
$1.2
please be
million. What
quiet.
happened to the
This
money?
is not public comment time, so if you cannot please sit there and be
Money.
quiet to the public comment part, then you're gonna have to step out until then.
Okay, well, so
Okay, thank you. So, we can keep looking at this, I can reach out to the AID and see if they've got more information, but, I mean, I think you guys are just gonna have to start figuring out the hard decisions. But, like, you're either gonna have to increase the general fund revenue, or we're gonna have to go back to the discussion on cutting the departments, that's. So, we can table it, you guys can look into it. You can do some of your own research, whatever you guys wanna do, and then we can circle back to this at the next meeting.
Don't get the information, just look it over.
I mean, that was just the part, it was us getting you the information, kinda, I mean, these are the things you guys wanted to explore, and I'm just trying to get you guys the information to look at the options. Alright, so then the next discussion is about, the abandoned urban property. So, with doing that, I had Megan go ahead and pull the back, so part of that is you have to follow the KRS, they have to at least be 3 years delinquent on property taxes. And I was just kinda curious, you know, cause I'm like, well, if they haven't paid them for the last 3 years, you know, we don't need to go ahead and go look at doing this to just increase the tax rate then, cause we're gonna, that's all it really does on property that's not paying on if we're just gonna end up with a bunch of property over in a flood zone that isn't worth anything. But that's not the case, like, we have pages and pages of delinquent taxes, and a lot of them are not in, I mean, I don't, so I think we need to look at maybe adding the ad valorem tax on there for the abandoned property to try and get some of the stagnant property that's just out of the flood zone, that's just sitting and nothing's happening, and they're not paying property taxes, and they're they're just abandoned at this point. But I can have Megan send you guys this list, email you guys this list too, and you guys can look at the properties and see if that's something you guys want to explore. But all that would basically would be working with the code enforcement officer, and then they would determine if that house would meet the requirements, and then it would add on that extra tax onto it. And then I think there's some stipulations, like if you sell the property, they have so long then to fix up to get it fixed. They were talking about this in Sadieville. I think they had done it. So I'm gonna have Megan, since she got me this list, send it to you guys, and you guys can look over the unpaid taxes. But at the end of the day though, it might be worth looking at trying to pursue some of these properties.
So if they're not paying them though, what does that do? Like, what good does
You
it
can
do?
foreclose on a property that they're not paying the taxes. If they don't have any other mortgage, then you're the only lien holder on the property. But normally there's a lien holder somewhere or a mortgage. If there's a mortgage company, they'd be the person lien on the property. But they have to pay when they foreclose, they have to satisfy and pay off the taxes that are owed. So we would get our money in the end, even if we initiated a foreclosure and if there's a mortgage company, they're gonna jump on that foreclosure because they're not gonna give up the property, but we'll at least get paid at the end. So there is but like, I think that's something that we'd really have to go through and look at what properties that would even be worth seeking that option.
I think that's the blighted tax, right, or blighted stuff.
They call it the abandoned urban property tax.
Has been a while since I looked at that. Is it just the code enforcement officer that would make a determination? I thought it might have been a board.
There's a process that goes through it, but there's the KRS outlines the requirements on what you have to satisfy for that property to meet that satisfaction. We're gonna jump on to the bond attorney.
You ready for me?
Yep.
So in your packet, there is a letter of engagement from Dinsmore and Scholl Law Firm for the Scripps. Is it the Adam Scripps Foundation? Is that what it's called? The Adam Scripps Foundation. For the loan that we have, their lawyers have asked for our bond counsel. We don't have one. Essentially, what bond counsel is an expert in municipal financing. Because this does deal with a loan portion, we have to make sure that we're complying with certain Kentucky statutes. The gentleman, Mark Franklin, who would be our bond counsel should you approve him, was recommended by Kentucky League of Cities. I've talked to him. The expense should probably be minimal. The fee schedule is attached in the back as Exhibit A. you're not gonna get a whole lot of information out of that because we're not gonna do traditional bond financing. Essentially what we're reviewing here is how we can, under municipal law, make the loan work and be compliant legally. So, Butler will have the same bond counsel as Falmouth, and we'll get those two things approved, and then that way we can move forward with the grants and forgivable loans that we need to get the paperwork on in order to get that money. And he said the fees would be probably somewhere in a couple thousand range, so not bad. I just need you all to make a motion and approve if you're okay with it.
I mean, essentially having the bond counsel is not optional, so, I mean, don't get the bond counsel, that means we're not getting the grant from the loan. So we have to have a bond counsel, this was the one that.
Before we get the grant.
Right. Yeah, before we get in, yeah, and Butler's having, this is all part of the whole spiel
Yeah,
together.
the way that it was packaged is we had, in order to get the grant, we had to take the loan.
That's what kicked the whole thing off,
Yeah.
remember, because the county didn't want the loan money, but the cities took the loan money to maximize, and it maximized the grant opportunities.
And there's another, I can't think, it's another big law firm down in Cincinnati. No, it might be Frost Brown Todd, maybe the other one. Their lawyers are also not municipal bond lawyers. So someone needs one and it falls on us to get it.
Because unlike, I guess, more traditional cities are taking loans from like USDA, KAA, those kind of things, this is a private foundation, so this needs.
I make a motion that we go with this.
I'll second.
Everybody in favor?
Yes.
Do you want to scan that for them?
You scan it to me and I'll get it sent. Yep, you keep.
Alright, and then you guys, we got our, department reports, I know that Cody's here to talk about with the fire, department update, if you wanna go ahead and give your department report.
So, did you guys have any questions over the report that we submitted? So the one thing that was on there that I wanna try to discuss with our command car, I know we've been talking about it for a couple of months now. On the report that I sat out for you guys earlier tonight, we've looked at vehicles that range from $8,000 to $40,000. Now, I know the $40,000 cars are a stretch. We just put those in there to kind of show you guys the prices that we are looking at nowadays with that. Those more expensive cars were also fully loaded, ready to go. All we have to do is drop our radios into them. I spoke with the mayor a little bit earlier. So we have been looking at, we've probably looked at 8 or 9 vehicles now. The problem that we're having is by the time we find them, we try to get the information and then we make it to a meeting, the car is selling. So I'm gonna try to get a dollar amount approved that we could spend on a command car. I think the dollar amount that me and the mayor came up with was on the high end of 14,000, but we're gonna try to stay around 10. And this would be to replace the Tahoe that we have currently.
Or I did completely clear out there, and I haven't even talked to Marty, I don't know what they're planning on doing with those extra police cruisers back there, cause my guess would be that they are getting, cause we've been replacing the Chargers with the Durangos.
Right, we've got 2 pool cars that we use when one of the other ones go down. I mean, if the city wanted to use one, I mean, it's possible we could go down to one backup car. The only time that would be a problem is if we had more than one car go down at once, but most of our fleet is new vehicles, so I really wouldn't foresee that. But that would be that was the reason we had the 2, just in case, but, you know, we can work with you on it if that's something you all wanted to do.
to me, that sounds the most fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
You're looking to buy new, you're looking used car?
Yeah.
on that?
Yes, so we were trying to find, at least, the oldest that we were wanting to go was, 2015. We have found options, around the $8 to $9,000 mark, that would suit us well. It's like I said, it's just the problem of once we find them, we reach out to them, make sure they're available, you know, we're checking for the mileage, service record, and everything like that. But by the time we get that, and then we can get in here to give the report, they're being sold. So that is kind of the issue that we're running into.
Because I'm assuming if we use one of the backup police vehicles, it'd have to be debadged from saying police, because you can't have the fire
Yeah,
chief
have
rolling
to-
around in that.
Yeah, no, it would have to have all the police stuff taken off.
Oh, you have to take the decals off and
The cage out.
but the lights may need to be changed too. 'Cause you guys don't run those, you run the reds. But it's feasible.
And we could probably take the current light bar that's off the Tahoe, put it on the Charger, and just take your guys' blues out. I don't think there'd be much.
No,
Charger.
the interior blues aren't hard to take out anyway.
Yeah, we could just put the red light bar on top of it.
Removing the decals wouldn't be, we did it with the other ones when we changed the striping package when we first took them. It's not
That's
hard.
not a big deal.
I think so. It's just used for fire runs and governmental safety, right, or to.
So that has, we've gone over that, Kobe, and I've also, I talked to Kobe and I talked to, Chief Fields about it, about how the command vehicle is no longer a home fleet vehicle, it's gonna stay at the firehouse to be used to respond for calls and for training or any other official purpose, like if during the flood, driving up to the command thing, that kind of stuff. So.
Could the police still drive it with red lights? Just out of curiosity, like, is it a case where if you had both?
We gotta have, I think we're required by statute to have at least one.
At least one blue. It's either gotta be red and blue or just blue for ours, but
I mean, it's an expensive option, but the city can purchase a light bar that can transition from blue to red. They make those, but.
Well, no, because my guess would be, I don't think it'd ever go back to a police car. My idea would be to give it to the fire department and then be the command vehicle. And in the event that we ever need to replace a police vehicle, we would just be replacing we're not gonna take it back to a police vehicle, we would just replace it.
no, you can change the lenses too.
Yeah.
Cause the lights are just white, it's just reflecting off of the, so if you change the outer lenses, you can get whatever color you need.
But I mean,
I see what you're saying.
we were replacing the Chargers with the Durangos. So the cars that they're sitting back there are cars that eventually were gonna be surplused
Yeah,
out.
those matriculate.
Yeah, I mean, eventually they'd be. I'm good with that, it's up to you guys. You guys want them to do that?
Yeah, it's my vote.
Okay, well, so you're getting a new command vehicle. Might not have been what you wanted. Hey, it's just like when you buy your kid their first car. But so you're gonna get one of the police extra vehicles. I'm sure Nick will go over there and make sure you get whichever one.
I'm gonna give them the best one we've got.
I'm sure. I am sure.
It's gotta be better than what we got, so.
Okay, so now we're not spending that, but no, so now, okay. So is that all on the fire update?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we took care of the command vehicle thing, well, solved that problem. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Marty, to your report, or you just want them to look at your report?
Unless if somebody's got a question, I tried to give them a pretty comprehensive outlook of what we're doing.
And I really like the business security check cards you guys are going around putting in the doors. I saw that. Those are nice. And then the utilities and the clerk's office gave their reports. And to go along with the utility report, I spoke with Daniel over at Rural Water, and they are saying, Mark's saying that he'll have our study done no later than March 15th. They're hoping it might be done before that, but they're saying the latest March 15th.
That's a little money.
So. And then Megan also printed in your packet, this is from Brian Thompson, and it's going to be a resolution on fees that we need to get in place. And that's something that we'll be going over the next meeting, but I went ahead and had Megan print it for you guys, so you guys could look at that. And we didn't have any committee meetings tonight. Okay. Is there any other council comments before I open the floor to public comment?
One of the things that's the electric situation on funding to repair the transmission line and all that kind of stuff.
The only news I've gotten so far, well, we lost they pulled the line item out of, so they've reached back out to Mitch McConnell's office to find out if it's pointless to try and get it back in to even be considered at this point for this year. We could try and go after it for next year, but you're talking about, I don't know if that would be in time, would come to before they want to move forward. Supposedly, the only thing that they did say back was that there has been some discussion with the Trump administration to reinstate the brick grant. That is just being discussed from the administration, that they're going to reinstate the brick grant, which would resolve all of our issues. But nothing is, that's just the beginning discussion, because they're going through that homeland, they're on the homeland security budget and all that stuff now with the federal government, so like it's really, that's the best news I've gotten as far as anything, was that there might be some life, that the Trump administration is discussing reinstating the brick grant, which would resolve the issue. Apart from that, we are back at the drawing board trying to figure out where to come up with $8 million. And Bluegrass's CEO has changed over, and so I'm waiting for the new CEO to get comfortable before we discuss the feasibility study. But they were supposed to give me prices for me, the cost of the feasibility study. So we're looking at the options, but there's just not a clear path with everything going on with the federal government, and that's what we had the BRIC grant. That's kind of what threw all this into the loop to begin with, was when they pulled the BRIC grant funding, and then we were part of. They did sue on that. Kentucky's one that, like, they sued on trying to get them to reinstate that, and there's discussion there, but so say some prayers and it might work out. But if not, KYMEA is working. We're still working at it, and that was the discussions yesterday. So. Any other council? I think we have one guest speaker signed up, and that was Mr. Houchins, and then we can open it up to any other guests that would like to share anything.
Did anybody have any questions on the financial reports before you?
Oh, yeah, hold on, yeah, before you start, does anybody have questions for Paul? No.
Okay. Pretty similar to the prior months.
Yeah.
Yeah, same situation, just another month down, so. I want to get out of here then.
Thank you.
Can I sit down?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, boss. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
I guess I came here with one idea, and once I got here tonight, I've pretty much been dismissed. Sabrina's dismissed me. City's not responsible. She's not responsible. Insurance company's not responsible. So this is the only satisfaction I'm going to get out of this. But I'm going to tell you what happened. I live on Sycamore Street. The subdivision was built started in 1953. The houses were sold. The infrastructure went in. The sewer line on my street is an 8-inch sewer line made for 35, 40 houses. And I think I checked, there's only 7 or 8 with basements. I have a house with a basement. My grandmother built it in 1955. Now, to my knowledge, and I know because I've lived on that street my entire life. I grew up 2 doors from there. So I know everything that's going on. There was water in that basement on March 1st, 1997. You all probably know what day that was. And that was water. It just came up, went down. That was water. April of this year, up and down, 29 years later, 28 years, whatever it is, 2025, in April, it rains. I've got 2 inches of sewage in my basement, raw sewage in my basement. So, first time since 1955. Was that 70 years? First time. So, they had trouble on the other end of the street. They had worse trouble. I didn't say anything about it. Came, what was it, November 19th? Came another rain. I had 6 inches, 5 to 6 inches of raw sewage in my basement. I called Joyce. Joyce gave me Sabrina's number. I called Sabrina. Sabrina was out there with everybody else looking at the road. I wasn't there that night because I had 5 inches of sewage in my basement. And Sabrina told me, no problem, city's got insurance. Okay. So next time I talked to her, I said, well, I don't, she said, we got insurance. I said, well, who do I call? She told me who to call. I ended up calling ServPro. That was one of the people you said to call. I called them. And you don't even know this, but I tried to call you when ServPro came before I gave them the go-ahead to see if it was okay with the city if I went ahead and had them do it, but you didn't answer. It was the middle of the day. You don't know about, nobody answered the phone. But I tried. So I had to okay the bill, pay the bill. It was $3,616. They took out, and the city has them, I've got them on my phone, 33 pictures of things that they took out of my basement that they said were contaminated. I don't know if they were, but that's what, 33 pictures of stuff, what they took out of the basement. So I submitted the claim, and I got told last week that it wasn't the city's fault. Now, I think that's comical, but not the city's fault. Now, I know none of you have been sitting here for 70 years, so I know it's not all your fault. But that 8-inch drain had tree roots in it. Water gets in from everywhere. It's cracked, it's broke, and it was only made for 35 houses. Okay? Somebody made a decision to put the courthouse water and run it through there, the new courthouse. Somebody made a decision to let Dollar General run their water through there. Somebody made a decision, and people came here and complained and did talk to you when they put the doctors, the dentist office, and total care out there. That comes through. And I found out last night, and I don't even know if this is legal or not. You may have problems. But I got the subdivision of Blue Jay Street or whatever it is a mile out of town, out south of town. It runs into our place. Now, not the city's fault, right? Bullshit, bull. You know? I know from city workers that all that 8-inch pipe is broke. It had tree roots in it. They got the tree roots out on one end of the street, didn't get them out on my end, but there's tree roots, so the pipes have to be broke. There's complaints about people, she told me, was it running a little water? It's got nothing to do with that. This water is coming from everywhere, running through our broken 8-inch pipes. Anyway, that's my story. You know, I thought maybe the city would want to talk to the insurance company. I thought maybe the city might want to do something, but obviously you don't, because I was dismissed earlier tonight, can't do nothing, so.
I mean, if you guys would like to
Thank
change the
you.
ordinance to allow floor drains and the sub pumps and the spigots and stuff
I'll
back
put your
onto
complaint
the
in,
sanitary
next
system,
time houses pump it out the
then you
street.
can.
That's
But
right.
that's
Or
the
you have a
issue,
water
is this
source.
floor drain leaks,
Yeah,
it's
that's
hooked
what's
into the
up, and the next
sanitary
time
sewer
houses
system,
pump
and
out
by
the street,
ordinance it
that's
can't
more
be.
of that.
So, I
That's what
didn't,
they say.
wasn't here when that was in
See?
2018 when they changed that ordinance. I mean, like, so, but that's how every city has their ordinance, so I don't.
Don't the dollar store and, all that, Cardinal Ridge and all that, come down in the sewer along the creek?
Yes,
Not down your street?
it doesn't go down
Now,
Sycamore, it goes down the creek.
We were told.
that was built during, after the flood, I can know because Jack was on council, and Jack White had a big part in getting that, sewer line, it's relatively new, well, what?
It's not only that, Joyce.
I know that, but I'm
It's
saying.
the
from
water
there.
from the concrete,
Yes.
every time you put in concrete, water has to go somewhere. And it comes to us, he's got a picture where there's rocks and broken, those trees. Down,
Well, I was gonna get
where
her
is,
off.
and that's where, and the water comes off the hill. And it's just, and to my knowledge, there's been a lot of talk in the last 11 months, but nothing's been done.
And so, we'll put the full discussion more or less out there. There are repairs to our infrastructure. We need serious repairs to the sewer system. We are well aware of that. There's no revenue to do that when the sewer plant's losing $200,000. And our water plant's barely breaking even. And they're only breaking even now because we have the partial increase on the wholesale rate, or the water plant would be in the red. So our electric for years has been carrying everything. So there's been no money to reinvest into these repairs. And for the last few years, they were not going after project funding, and we
Should we
fixed
all
all
move
that.
out?
And
Is that what you want us to move out?
no, so we've
Right.
gone after $6 million in project funding through the state revolving fund and the KY Water since I've taken office. I'm doing everything I can to get the money to go over there and figure out what all the issues are. But the residents, you have to be in compliance with the ordinance, and the ordinance says you cannot have floor drains, you can't have your downspouts, and you can't have sub pumps and these things hooked into the sanitary sewer system. And unfortunately, at your house, your floor drain's hooked into the sanitary sewer system, and if it wasn't hooked in, then it wouldn't flood your basement.
Now, my
And that's
question
why
is,
the ordinance is that way.
I have no floor drains, but my trouble was the raw sewage backed up through my toilet, shot up in the air. I had to run out my garage, get a sub pump, put it into my toilet, and pump it out of the house. And who was in my basement to witness it? You
I
were
was there, and so, and I've questioned this part too, because we have nothing about backflow preventers in our thing, but,
And
so
then
when
I
you
had-
had your basement finished,
I had
did
my
you go
basement
through the
finished.
permitting then to have them come in, because
When
so
I
that
bought
you
my
can't
house-
have, so it comes down to, and this is all the things that I'm learning about the sewer system, because, being essentially having to deal with all these things. Rural Water's coming in to explain the rest of all this to the employees to make sure that they all have the clear understanding, but when you essentially have a basement and you've got gravity sewer lines, if your sewer line is sitting below your manholes out on the street, you're gonna backflow into it.
That's what you're saying. I
But
had
that's- no,
a
that's-
company
that's
from
what's
CME.
gonna happen.
CME come down and redo my sewer line. I paid $14,000 out of my checking account to have my sewer line redone.
Mm-hmm.
CME, they came here. They travel all over the United States. They ran the camera through my sewer line, and the words out of that man's mouth is, "Oh my God, look at this sewer line on your street." That was the words out of that guy's mouth. His name was Ralph. He said, "I've never seen that." He just came from New Orleans, and he said he was shocked to see what Sycamore Street's sewer
No,
line looked
I
like.
mean, I get
And what I'm
the
also
issues.
saying,
You're talking
the
about
other
millions
thing
of
is-
dollars to fix something, and
Well-
we have gone after the money to try and fix it.
what I'm saying is, like Steve said, what he wants to do, move? Then you'll have no revenue coming in, no house, just a piece of
No, I
property
get
sitting
it.
there.
But my point is, and we've had this discussion, but we're going after, there's nothing I can do about what hasn't been done for the last 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I
Well, my
can't help
basement
that they
flooded.
weren't going after money. I can't help the revenues screwed up, so they were not making money in the utilities to do the repairs. I'm making as many changes as we can since I've taken office. We've gone after the project funding. We've gone after $6 million to fix the I&I issues. With Sycamore being the spot, I've got rural water coming in to focus on your street.
What I'm
Like,
saying
I
is
know
that,
the problems are there, but I don't have the money to go over there and fix it.
I'm saying, when it first happened, Sebastian, it was his very first day in office.
I
He
remember
was
that.
there, he witnessed it, he was shocked. So I'm telling you, this has been going on for a while, now it's gotten worse. Now the other issue going on with the sewer line, the garbage truck. He went down my street, he went through the street. The back wheel went into the blacktop. The guy took my 90-gallon tote, stuck it into the street, and it only stuck out that far to keep a car from going down. What did the city do? They came and put a metal lid over top of it. I asked him, I said, what caused it? It's in perfect line with the sewer line. What caused it to collapse? He said, oh, we'll take care of it. They filled it with gravel, put a Band-Aid on top of it. Now the road's crushing,
Oh.
collapsing again.
100%. That's all they've been doing for decades, is putting Band-Aids on broken stuff. And that's why we're in the situation we're in, and we are trying to fix that. I've got people coming in to do the training with our new employees, so we're not putting Band-Aids on broken infrastructure.
Well, the reason I
like
brought it
they've
to the
been
council, so it'll be on the record, so when the UPS truck goes down the street, it goes down. Now the street's collapsed about the size of this table. It's dropping down, where it was just the size of a tire of a truck. Now we contracted Rumpke. Now you're coming down with triple axle dump trucks or garbage trucks, even heavier. Now when the UPS truck goes down, or a fire truck goes down, or ambulance goes down, or the Amazon truck goes down, it goes down into the street, somebody's gonna be liable.
I know,
But
but
that's
at
what I
least,
wanted on the
but I
record.
guess,
We're warning you now, you need to fix the street in front of my house. It's going to wash away.
and I guess the difference in the conversations 2 years ago and now is they weren't doing anything 2 years ago to fix the problems. We're trying to fix the revenue so we can start generating the revenue with the rates to make repairs, and we've gone after the money, project funding, that they weren't doing the last few years. It has been 4 or 5 years before they've gone after any project funding.
How much was Wilson Lane? I think it was about, what, 800?
But like I said, I want
It
this
was
on the
almost $1
record,
million
so if something does
just to do
happen-
Wilson Lane. That's what I'm saying. The city, like, as much, it would be great to go fix all these things. The city does not have the money. And I get it. It's their own detriment is why we're in the situation we're in, but I can't fix what was done before, but we're making the changes as quick as we can to try and get the fixes. And that is the street. That's why I said we're not doing just that. Initially, when we were going after, we weren't gonna pave over there because they said we need to redo all the sewer line over there, and that's all they kept talking about. Well, that's what the discussion was, last year. That's not what we're doing. We're not just gonna focus on one side of town. We've got problems on Sycamore Street on this side of the track. So we're taking the money and we're gonna hit our hot spots throughout the whole city to spread that money out instead of just focusing on the one side of town. I'm trying to make all the changes we can, but I don't have employees that are skilled enough. We don't have the equipment enough to go out there and do a whole line replacement on Sycamore. Like, I get it's frustrating. It's frustrating for me too. But I'm trying to find answers. It's not like we're sitting up here not doing anything. We're getting, like, I don't know what more we can be doing right now, essentially.
That's what I mean. I mean, if the city don't want to do anything, the house will go up for sale. I'll be more than happy to move out of this town because there's nothing here in this town anyway. You got a couple grocery stores. You're keeping all the infrastructures out. They've been shut down before. You had other businesses want to come here. They got shut down. You reap what we sow.
Yeah, we'll shut down too.
We two businesses for
Thanks.
sale.
Fine.
Any other
Back in
public
the
comments?
1980s, when all this stuff was going on. I said what was going on back in the 1980s when I was a kid and there was nothing going on. We had people, I've been a mayor. I know what you're going through, Sabrina. I know what you're all going through. But the problem of it is we're blaming you, and I'm just saying, because you're the one who's sitting in the seat.
No, I know.
And I'm being honest with you. If I was sitting there, you know what the hell I went through for no reason whatsoever. But the thing of it is, why are we blaming Max Colbert? He was here for 50 years. Why aren't we blaming Flahar? Why are we blaming him? And I understand that people haven't been here for that time. I have, you have, Craig has. I'm just saying,
people have to understand something. It's not just one person's problem, it's everybody's problem. And if you don't have the money to fix it, I'm sorry. But we have to, like you said, you're trying to figure out a way to fix it. And there's other ways, I mean, if you're not
It's
gonna.
about spending.
And
That's the problem.
And I get that.
Spending's the problem here.
Utility spending and general
But
fund
also
spending
more
are two
police
different
officers.
things.
You have more police officers
But that's
now.
got nothing
But
to
you
do,
also, it does, you pay
that's
those
nothing
police
to do
officers.
with utilities, that's a separate
I know, but
funding.
all your money here, where's
It's
all the
separate
money?
funding.
What happened to 1.2 million that my son had a deficit? What happened to all
There was a,
that?
hold on, there was a $500,000 loan we were carrying from Enterprise, so when you finance $500,000 worth of vehicles instead of buying them, that gets you that. And at that point, he wasn't funding a police department for the first 6 months of his term. That also created a huge thing, and I'll be honest, and under Luke, they overspent, 100% they overspent. That's why we hired the treasurer, we did the full audit, and we
Who's this guy that's
fixed
sitting
it.
here?
That's Paul Maddox, that's the city's treasurer, because we outsourced that, because
Why are we
they weren't
outsourcing
doing
that?
it.
There's money right there, why are we outsourcing that?
Because they were
Did we have that
overspending.
2 years ago?
They were overspending.
Who's overspending?
Under Luke, they overspent. That's
They've
how.
overspent a lot of money.
Yeah,
Why are we
yes.
standing down sidewalks?
Why are we
Why
what?
are we standing down sidewalks? Why aren't you fixing the road? Why are we standing down sidewalks? Why did you spend all that money standing? I thought, what the hell are they doing standing down the sidewalks? I couldn't believe it. Why would you do that?
Because people were tripping.
Yeah, I know that looks stupid.
I know, but that was the best way that they could band-aid it.
A lot of
cities do that.
Here's the thing,
Those
is you're
stupid.
talking about 2%, that's why I'm here for 2%.
Who's talking about 2%?
2% or what?
Who's
Oh, we're
talking about
told
2%?
you're going to add on for us to have a business and our employees that you want to charge them money to work here in town.
That's-
You know, these employees of mine don't make a lot of money. This is a poor town. I don't know if you guys realize that or not, but this is a poor town.
No, I know, so
Well,
where do you
they
expect
already-
the
they
city
already
to get the
pay
money to
county
fix
though for
things?
working here.
What is
Huh?
it?
They already do pay the
Yeah,
county.
well,
That's
I mean,
what I'm
just
saying. Are
cost
you
them
at-
more.
are you
We're
at-
supposed to be saving people money. We're not supposed to be looking for everything to take from people. Stop spending money you don't need to spend.
Are you trying to add
Hell,
2%?
these cops. Hell, my friend was a gun was involved. When the police officer finally got there, I was down there for an hour and a half for a cop to get somewhere where there's a gun involved. Hour and a half.
In the city?
Was it an hour and a half, Marty?
What was that?
It was an hour and a half.
I'll give it to
Hour and a
you.
half with a gun involved. Hour and a half.
Was
You
that-
got all these police officers
Was
don't have
that
to
in,
go
hold
anyway.
on, was that in the city?
Hour and a half when a gun was involved, she waited. When she came, the police officer made a report. She was so worked out, she passed out. They had an emergency. The ambulance come there. That's how upset she was.
This
They
is
waited
the
an
first time
hour
I'm hearing
and a
about
half for the police officers when there was a gun involved.
that. That's
Hour and a half.
Well, you talk about property taxes.
You're crazy.
Like all property taxes, you said you had a stack of property taxes up there that's not been paid, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think my grandpa Marshall lives up on New Hope Road years ago. He bought a farm up there on a courthouse step. That's how he bought it. Why ain't all them going up the courthouse step?
Well, I had to pull it today, and I was like, are you serious? I didn't know
Yeah,
it was
it's
this
not that
bad.
matter. That's
No,
a
I
lot of
know.
money.
No, it is, and that's why I said we definitely, even if we don't do the additional urban abandoned property tax, we definitely need to start looking at pursuing some of these because
It
some
should
of
have
these.
done years ago.
I
bought the house
100%.
behind my business.
Yeah.
It's been there for years.
That
Nothing
does
done
not
about it. It's all even about grass being too long in one of our
Yeah,
yards.
it's just ridiculous.
Get that down. I'm tired of looking at it. That's crazy. It looks like crap. Get
They
it
know
down.
They get on me, I mean, I work, my lawnmower's down, they call me on Dickerson, cause Norma had a call, raise hell, cause my grass was a little higher than it usually gets. I'm on my grass, I work a full-time job, supposed to come down here and work. And then that guy calls me, I said, don't throw on me. I come unglued.
Oh, we look at
The thing is,
it's burned up all the time.
then you got that old house back there, I wanted that old house. And then ended up selling, they sold it for $5,000, whatever. There it says, still an eyesore behind our restaurant.
No, I think he's got it back on the market again now because he was supposed to be rehabbing it, so that, and now my
Yeah,
understanding is
instead
it's
of-
back on Zillow.
Well, instead of getting
Yeah.
what he paid for it, he wanted another $5,000 for it, you know what I'm saying? He wanna make $5,000.
Well, you
Well,
need
the
to
city
push on to
need-
get
the
the
city
fix
needs to
going
say-
on.
This needs to go, it's been here long enough.
How many years has that been? 5 years?
Hell, kid died in
I
it,
mean,
get rid of it.
get rid of it. I don't wanna look at that. You my customers want to sit outside and look at that?
I didn't even want to look at that. I don't want to look at that from sitting outside.
Then they will yell at me about mowing the grass. I said, are you kidding me? But that's your tax money, is that property tax?
I did it too when I was here.
What's that?
What you, those tax papers that you got right there? I went through them too, cause I asked Christy, I said, how much we got in these? And she said, here you go, and I said, thank you very much. I went over and did them all up, and I said, let's get them out.
That's right.
And that's what we
Belinda
did.
collected a lot of.
Oh, it's not just about, I mean, some of these I don't know if they're ever gonna pay.
Well, some of them are people that haven't paid period.
If they don't pay,
For a
it
lot
goes
of
on,
years.
it goes on the courthouse steady, you have an
It's
auction.
a lot of years.
People comes there and buys it, that's what happens.
That's what you need to do, that makes money right there,
Lot of
do
money.
that. Jesus, instead of taking people from people at work, go to people that don't do nothing, leave your stuff left out there, it looks crappy. I mean, I go and try to do what I need to do all the time, and I gotta look at this burnt building behind my place all the time, that's just not right. It's been
The only reason
5
we come
years,
down here is
5 years.
All reason you come down here is because we heard you gonna try to put 2% tax on the.
No, we were just having a discussion. That's why it was
I'm sure Greg, you
council.
want that, Greg, you want property tax on all your employees, you want that, surely you don't?
No, it ain't no good, I mean, we pay top taxes, we got, I don't know, let's see, three.
I don't make a lot of money there, but getting
We
more
got,
money than worth it.
I don't know, we paid $15,000 in taxes, property taxes this year. I mean, I know that's our fault for having so much shit, but that's the way it works. Huh? I'm selling it. I'm not here.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to open another business like that. I hear our electric's gonna go up 60%. If that happens, I'm gonna sell everything downtown. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not gonna pay 60% more. I already pay more than anybody else pays, so I'm not paying anymore.
Where'd you get that? 60%.
That's what I heard.
I just.
Don't leave everything here.
Yeah, just like a 2%, double of everything. I mean, it's just something that we're exploring. I mean, if.
Well, I know, but I mean, Jesus, why do you explore stuff like that?
But you
Big-
Well, what are we-
No, it's not 2%. It's just exploring something in general.
We're exploring options. We're exploring things, so we're trying to come up with solutions
Well,
to
let's look at what you're
problems.
spending. That's what you need to look at.
We
Don't look
have
how to make more money.
We have
Look
been.
how to get rid of stuff.
We have been, that's why they're.
Let it loose, let it close.
No, you guys got yourself in a situation. That's all I'm gonna say. You don't want to spend so much.
Me, yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Any announcements, Sabrina?
Next Wednesday, I know I sent you guys out a thing about the city day, city night up in, Lexington there with their big old legislators. If anybody wanted to sign up for that, did you get signed up?
I know, but I found the thing.
Alright, I mean, Megan can help you get signed up for anything if you need help getting signed up.
Sure.
So that's coming up. Then,
I'll figure it out. Anything else if you don't get it?
I think that's the other stuff I think is mostly water out here. Yeah, that's it.
Marty, is there anything in the big old packet that I couldn't, like, I usually scan and post
No,
on and
everything
stuff?
that's in there is probably correct. Are you good?
I just didn't want to make sure I posted and be like, why'd you do that?
No, that's activity. It's.
Alright.
I try to screen that so you don't have to worry about it.
I do too.
If you want to just scan that, I just need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
I did not.
I know what the speaker was gonna say.